YouTube and Gamer Nation to the first episode of Joystick Justice League, this brand new podcast dedicated to giving you the most recent breaking news of the video game industry and stuff that isn't even out yet, plus the final reviews of some of the hottest new releases and also some of the hidden gem masterpieces you may have missed. I am the founder of Joystick Justice League. My name is Mike Frusios. You can also check out my blog, which is the Alarm Bell Network, which is alarmbellnetwork.wordpress.com, and I'm joined by my co-host.
This is Joe Morin. You can check out my blog at joemorin.appleguy@blogspot.ca.
That's right, people, and the key is getting connected. So if you see something you like, make sure you like and share it to your friends so that the good word spreads. We are an alternative news outfit that is basically dedicated to providing you with a lot of the game news that you don't really see in a lot of the other corporate gaming sites. But anyway, I'm going on. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of brand new indie stuff on the horizon, especially with basically the new generation that just came about. The PS4 just came out, the Xbox One, the Wii U is still going strong. So let's get started with a really cool title that's going to have some stiff competition, but nevertheless looks like it's going to have some legs. This game is called Bound by Flame. Okay, so this one's coming out from Spiders Games, which is a division of Focus Home Interactive. And Spiders is basically, these are the guys who gave us Fairy Legends of Avalon and also the recent Mars Warlogs, which came out on PC, PS3, and Xbox 360. So this one's actually coming out somewhere in 2014 for the PC, PS4, PS3, Xbox 360. So Joe, you saw the trailer with me. What did you kind of gather from what you saw here?
Very Dark Souls kind of a feel to it. It's a real. It's going to be for those hardcore RPG guys out there. It's you're not going to be able to just fly through this thing. You're going to have to dedicate some time and really pick your spots and make sure that you got the weapons and everything you need, because it's going to be a tough game, guys. It's you're not going to fly through it. You're going to have to really put some time into it. It looks really, really sweet.
Oh yeah, I mean, like we were saying, this really demands your skills as a gamer. Like if you've played Dark Souls or Demon Souls, you can't waste any time in these games. I mean, every block, every counter, every hit matters. But like what I was saying before is that this game is coming out at a time where there's some really stiff competition. I mean, we have Capcom's Deep Down, which is a PS4 exclusive coming out. And then also you have the major Dark Souls 2 sequel that's also coming out sometime 2014 from Namco Bandai. It seems like there's a lot of competition. What do you think is going to make Bound by Flame stand out?
It's going to come down to like what it does with every other game. That gameplay. They're going to do something that makes them stand out from Dark Souls and Deep Down. And we'll see. Like Mike said, there's some stiff competition with them, but if they come out at the right time, and if the time is good and the gameplay is good, they're going to do all right. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, the fantasy genre is something that'll never get too old. Or people will always be into like that medieval age, and I just kind of inferences I can make just from this little taste we got from the trailer, knowing what Spiders has done with their past games. Specifically Mars Warlogs, which if you've played it's kind of like this post-apocalyptic game, but it's got like a Mass Effect structure to it. So it's a third-person melee shooter, but then it also has, you can interact with characters and pick from like narrative story trees. So I have a feeling that's what's going to kind of space this out from like the action-heavy Dark Souls 2 or Deep Down, where this is going to maybe bring more of an emotional element and character development.
I even noticed when I was watching the footage as well. I even noticed that you're not just generically attacking the guys. Like I even noticed like you're attacking specific points, and that affects that's going to come into the strategy of how you're going to take these guys on. You're not just hacking and slashing away. You're going to have to pick your spots and really fight through those things.
Yeah, so it's almost like it's like the thinking man's hardcore brawler. So it remains to be seen. So that's coming out sometime in 2014 from Spiders and Focus Interactive. Also on the horizon, this is going to be one that's going to be exciting to people who grew up in the 90s and were fans of Shadow of the Beast, which was basically the flagship game for the Amiga, and also got ported over to like the Sega Master System, Super NES. You saw a bit of like Shadow of the Beast, the original. So what did you kind of gather from what you've seen and where we might be heading?
Well, back on the old systems, I mean, it from what I saw, I never got to play it myself, unfortunately. It looked really unique. even as you're navigating through, I even noticed that you're not always getting attacked from head on. Sometimes you're getting attacked from behind. So you're not just, they're not just generically coming at you. It looked pretty damn cool.
Exactly. It felt like what Altered Beast would have been like on the TurboGrafx 16. You know, when you play Keith Courage and all of a sudden, like you were saying, multi-directional attacks, multi-level platforming. But now, from when we see the HD reboot version, this one's coming out from Heavy Spectrum Entertainment Labs. Now, what's interesting about this is that this is a beloved 90s franchise that's being taken on by a publisher that, I checked their resume, they've only done 2 free-to-play PS Vita games. I played them, I have them on my Vita. They're called Puzzle Ball and Bully and Blitz. And they're basically very simple, kind of, iPhone-style games. We're talking about, like, from what I can see in this Shadow of the Beast trailer, it looks like it's going to be like a full-on AAA third-person brawler.
Yeah. So we'll see what they can do. These guys can step it up and make something good. And like you said, this is a game that's got a cult following, and these guys really love this. So hopefully these guys can do some justice and come up with something sweet.
Absolutely. I think this is the right kind of game that the PS4 is going to need, say, next Christmas or next spring when the Xbox One Titans start coming out, like Titanfall and all these big heavy hitters, and like Halo 5 starts coming out. The PS4 is going to need something in the absence of a God of War sequel, which has yet to be announced. We obviously know that after the kind of failure of God of War Ascension, Santa Monica's got to go back to the drawing boards with that franchise. I think from what I can see from this Shadow of the Beast trailer, this could possibly be to God of War 4 what Heavenly Sword was to God of War 3 on the PS3. An early tech demo, something similar in the vein to God of War, but showing us what the early generation tech of PS3 could do when they finally mastered the system and actually were able to put out God of War 3, the masterpiece that it was.
Yeah, so some of the other guys are going to probably look at this and see, it's going to give some of these guys a starting point, and it's going to show them, and then they can add their own stuff onto it. But it's going to be one of the many examples of games that we're going to talk about of Sony backing a lot of these indie guys to make some really cool games. I think it's going to make them stand out from some. I haven't seen a whole lot of this on Xbox One.
No.
So this is going to be a real. You could almost call it a trump card for Sony. There's some really cool games coming out that Sony's backing that wouldn't traditionally
get made in like other markets. I mean, they're putting a lot of faith in these smaller ideas, but this isn't even a small idea, but it's a small developer, and just the fact that they're giving them this AAA clout. We'll have to see what happens. I mean, this is, again, it's just a cinematic trailer. We don't even know that this is going to be 3D or 2D, but it's got me excited. I think it's like telling from the production design, use of art, use of color, just even seeing people play the old Shadow of the Beast and seeing the character design and level design, I think we're possibly in for a treat and a nice exclusive in an upcoming console war. So that's Shadow of the Beast. No real date on that one yet, but look for it soon. Next one, kind of flipping over to the survival horror genre, there's this new indie game called Soma coming from Frictional Games somewhere in 2015, so this is really early on the horizon, but we've actually managed to see some gameplay footage already. So what did you think of what you saw?
It looked pretty good. As far as I think it's kind of still in the alpha kind of stage. I don't know if they're even at beta yet, but it reminds me a lot of Navigate, like a Myst kind of style game, with a bit more of a sense of urgency. It looks pretty cool. It's going to be so far just PC and PS4. We'll see if it comes out on something else. But it looks cool.
I think so too. I like what you said about Myst, because it seems like it takes Myst to the next level. I see where you're going with that, because what we saw in the trailer and the early footage is the fact that there's a heavy emphasis on sound and environment. There aren't like a lot of like gory creatures jumping out at you. There's not a lot of action. There's just a lot of creepiness, a lot of atmosphere, and there's a heavy leaning on like the aliens mythology, and the visuals. I mean, it definitely feels like you're almost in like a sequel to Aliens. So I like the fact that we're seeing a survival horror game that's not just kind of going for the tried and true tropes of like an insane asylum or like a zombie farm. Yeah. We're actually seeing some classic UFO kind of stuff kind of come back into the zeitgeist. So I don't know, this could be really cool. It's a first-person game. These are the guys who made Amnesia, which was kind of one of those games that people slept on this generation. It came out for PS3, 360. What did you see from Amnesia that we can kind of learn about maybe where this Soma game is going to kind of go?
Well, you know, it seems what these guys are doing is they're basically taking Amnesia and adding more of the atmosphere to it. You know, Amnesia, you know, it felt a little stale from what I saw, and it seems like they're adding on to it. And it's, you know, this is on a console, and if you're, you know, and if they do this right, you know, if you're playing on a good big screen with some surround sound, some of the stuff that I've seen, you know, it should be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny. You say like Amnesia kind of felt stale. Like why? Like you said to me like why? Like you kind of felt like when you were watching the gameplay footage, like why this kind of felt not up to par with like the current generation standards.
Well, it didn't quite.
Like it felt too on rails in a sense.
Sort of, yeah. It felt on rails, and I felt a bit of a disconnect because it's a first-person perspective, and it felt a little odd even when you were picking up objects and interacting with stuff. It did feel like you were in control. It almost felt like when I said you were like kind of like mind bending some of the stuff to move it, and it seemed a little weird to me.
Yeah, I think that's part of the theme, that you can mind bend objects, but if it's not, the fact that you're not, like, you can see in the gameplay footage, there's no animation of the hand flicking a switch or anything like that. And I think at this point, so late in the game, it's kind of inexcusable to not dedicate system memory to be able to produce all those animations to kind of, you know, pull you into the game's atmosphere. I think that, like you were saying, it's kind of a disconnect.
Yeah, you know, it could be something that they could add on to later. I mean, we'll see.
It's got time. I mean, it's slated for 2015, so I think at this point, I think it's nice. It's a bit of a nod to like Half-Life 2 and Portal, you know, where you have objects floating in space, but you know you already know as a gamer that you're picking those things up. But I think the novelty is kind of worn off now, unless, again, like you're saying, if it's like some kind of mind control thing, I understand why there's an animate object floating in space. But I think at this point, they should be taking this time to really put those little touches to kind of encourage that suture of audience to content.
And if they don't maybe add that in, you know, then they might have to maybe add that into the element. Maybe there's a kind of supernatural thing where you are controlling.
Exactly.
With that stuff, and you know, then that would be cool.
They can do it like BioShock did, but like with the vigors and stuff, where it's justifiably with the thematic content that yes, something's floating in space. Anyway, it may sound like a triviality, but you know, suture does play a lot into the interactive experiences, into interactive entertainment. But again, it does have an amazing atmosphere to it. I love the fact that it's using the aliens tropes, and something to look forward to from Frictional Games, summer 2015. Next up, oh man, you were excited when you saw this one. This is one of the ones that I've been telling people about. This is gonna be one of those aces in the hole that the PS4 is gonna have as a console. Well, not a console exclusive. It's coming out for PC, but it's not coming out for Xbox yet. This one, and what's funny, it's because it's coming from Supergiant Games. This is called Transistor. So this is slated for next year, possibly, you know, February, March. I'm thinking. This is coming from the guys that made Bastion, which was like a big Xbox hit, and they're not even planning to do this game on Xbox.
I've heard about Bastion for a while, but believe it or not, I didn't start playing this game until I saw it available on iOS for iPad. Yeah. And when I got this thing, I mean, I fell in love with this game. I mean, and you know, we'll see if Transistor, you know, makes its way onto iOS devices and possibly even Android, because it felt so cool playing Bastion on a touchscreen, and what Transistor's doing is they're adding on to it. They're putting some other elements into it. You're planning your attack out more. Like you're picking the path of the attacks that you're making. I mean, I'm really looking forward to this one.
I think the reason that you're latching onto the fact that games like Bastion and, you know, eventually Transistor play so well on tablet is because it is an RTS game. Yep. It's 3/4 overhead, just like Diablo, just like Bastion, and that lends itself to more of like a touch interface. And what I really like about this game is just the art and the design. I mean,
it looks cool.
This isn't like your typical overhead RTS, which has traditionally been kind of routed in fantasy or steampunk or military, Command and Conquer, Civilization, but now we got something that's kind of trippy, almost Blade Runner-esque. And I guess that is steampunk in a sense, but it's something completely different. But it's just the fact that you've got these Japanese tropes, like she's got the huge sword that she's dragging behind her, and like you said, it kind of reminded you of another game,
Final Fantasy VII.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're literally looking at her, and like the sword's as big as she is, and I'm really looking for it. It's I'm hoping it comes out on iPad, but I mean it's gonna be cool no matter what you play on. This is one of my favorite games on this list. It's gonna be sweet, Mike.
Yeah, I mean it's good on so many levels. Like we were saying when we watched the trailer. Not only does it have your Diablo-esque, 3/4 overhead battle elements, but I mean, you can literally freeze the action like you would do in the Bureau XCOM Declassified, and actually start to do real-time strategy elements in suspended in space, where, like you said, you can draw lines using your touchpad on your DualShock 4 and create environmental hazards, which is also something we saw in games like Okami HD. Or for PS2 and PS3, where you could freeze the action, draw dots, which would create environmental hazards and either defend you or attack your enemies. There's so much to this, especially this seems like a very deep apocalyptic storyline. Incredible soundtrack. If you actually get a chance to actually watch the full trailer on YouTube, check out the original music. This one is gonna be, it's not gonna be like a system seller, but it's definitely gonna be something that the PS4 fanboys are just gonna grab too tight, especially knowing how Bastion became like an underground and eventual mainstream phenomenon. I think Sony's done a really good service for themselves, aligning themselves as Supergiant.
Yeah, and this not going to be the end for these guys. I mean, they seem like the guys that they're going to continue to come with some really cool stuff, and with these two games, I mean, I think they're just getting started, and this is going to be pretty sweet.
Oh, absolutely. So a great exclusive, but like I said, coming out on PC as well. So all you Steam fans, you'll be able to get this soon in 2014. So check it out, Transistor. Coming up next, we also have Child of Light. So Child of Light, this is a new one from UbiArt Framework, Ubisoft Montreal, which are the same people who actually brought us Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends. So I think you can see from watching the trailer where this game is easily coming from. What did you gather? Why should people be playing this game?
It's I think definitely fans of Rayman are gonna latch onto this. It's coming out for all the major consoles. It might lend itself more to the Wii U because it does seem like there's some touch involved there. It reminds me of Dragon Crown.
Absolutely, the Dragon's Crown comparison is immediate in the sense that it's a 2D hand-drawn, side-scrolling RPG, but where it separates itself from the incredible Dragon's Crown, and if you haven't played it, it's a $40 purchase for either PS3 or Vita. But anyway, getting back to Child of Light, what makes it different is the fact that it's actually turn-based battle. So whereas Dragon's Crown was real-time, this is turn-based, so it quickly turns it into kind of like a Final Fantasy Tactics affair. And I think that's where a game like this, where it already seems kind of meditative and slow-paced, I think that making it like a real-time action brawler would have actually taken away from like the sublime nature of what I'm seeing here. I think this game is meant to be savored, meant to just be enjoyed on like a long scale, meant to be read. And you mentioned something about that too. Like people are always shitting on games because there's a lot of reading involved. Well, I mean that's how you build story, and especially when you're doing like a comic book style kind of game like this,
it lends itself to it.
Absolutely. And like you said, I mean, we got hand-drawn art, so it's just going to look gorgeous. Like you see screen. You mentioned the fact that this is coming out for the Wii U, the PS4, Xbox, PC, but think about what you're seeing in the trailer. You've also got, like in Rayman Legends, you've got a buddy that you can control with the touchpad interface, or have maybe a second player play co-op and control the little sprite that follows you around like you have in like, Zelda Ocarina of Time and all these. It's basically like a pretty standard theme along these games. So I like the fact that it's most likely going to take advantage of the PS Vita and Wii U second screen interface, which is going to add a beautiful co-op dimension to this game.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that this will be something that, because it is coming on the Wii U, we all know they're not doing all that hot right now. This will be one of those games, there's some pretty cool elements to it that you may have already mentioned. But even as you're attacking, there's beams of light focusing on the characters that you're attacking. They're using some cool effects, and hopefully this will be something to kind of pull them out of the red, and maybe it'll draw some attention and be one of these things that'll kind of help them along. Because I mean, I don't know, I'm leaving out the other guys here, but I think this is something that hopefully it's going to help out the Wii U because they need some help.
I think you're right.
Hopefully this will be a game that'll save them a little bit. It's not a Pokemon. It's not a Mario.
But it's something that younger viewers and especially I'd say female gamers can attach themselves to. Female gamers who appreciate good story, character development, and if you're out there and let's just talk about Rayman Legends for example. I mean, it's on every platform known to man, but most people feel that the Wii U version is the superior version to play because of the second screen interface. So I think again that's what maybe if they can limit the Vita support on the Sony version, this may be what draws people to the Wii U version. So we'll see what happens with Child of Light. I'm really excited about that. I love like little simple games but very deep games like this.
And it's Ubisoft Montreal guys. I mean these guys.
Assassin's Creed, Rayman.
They make a lot of sweet, and it's a bonus that they're Canadian, and these guys they make some pretty sweet games.
So support your Canadian games.
Oh yeah.
Staying with the Sublime, a big one on the rise. I'm sure some of you have heard this. It was supposed to be a launch title for PS4. It's been pushed back, but knowing the game's creator, that's not a big surprise. He's a perfectionist, and that is a good thing. Jonathan Blow, the maker of Braid, is now coming out with his AAA console follow-up, The Witness. All right, so this one is purely for the PS4 at this point. Okay, so this is a major bold move for Jonathan Blow, who for a long time, I think Braid's been on PS3 since about 2009, but it was essentially an Xbox hit and a PC hit. When I watched Indie Game the Movie, of which Jonathan Blow was one of the main three characters that they followed, you could tell Jonathan Blow didn't have the greatest time working within the Microsoft structure. So I think like a lot of indie developers, he saw Sony and their welcoming attitude towards the indie scene and their nurturing of it. I think he saw that opportunity, and you can tell he's getting a lot of support on this game. Sony's been behind The Witness from day one, and I think we know why, because you were pretty baffled by this. So was I. What did you gather from this game? This isn't your average game. This is again like Braid, like anything Blow does. This is very unique, and it's going to have a very divisive audience.
No, this is something for him. I mean, this guy's. It's a real labor. It seems like he's really putting a lot of time into this, Mike. It seems like a real labor of love to him, and this isn't your typical game, in my opinion. It looks wise. It immediately reminded me of like a Zelda kind of atmosphere, but this is, from what I can see, it's purely a puzzle game, and as you're working your way through these puzzles, you can see that it looks like it's opening up different places. So I was a little confused at first when I first saw this, and it looked like you were just solving puzzles for the sake of solving puzzles, but it looks like it's as you open up these puzzles, you're opening up the world and getting a chance to explore for, I'm thinking, some greater purpose.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And if you've played Braid, you know that Jonathan Blow loves to play with conceptions of time and working in reverse as well. As in addition to always moving forward, which we've always been taught is sometimes always the way to progress a plot. Well, not necessarily. If anybody ever watched the movie Memento, you know that things can go backwards. And also, if you've ever played the game The Unfinished Swan, which came out from Sony Japan last year, same idea. You start with a white screen and you throw out splotches of paint, and that opens up the story world. So it's almost like peeling back the layers. And I see where he's going with Witness here. Me too. Like when I first watched this, we watched an extensive video of the puzzle solving mechanics. But what did I keep saying to you? Where's the payoff?
Yeah.
And then we saw the trailer. And we saw it. Right? You saw it. Things opening up in the environment. Doors opening.
I think there's going to be an even bigger payoff, and we'll see what the end result is here. But I mean, this looks really cool. I mean, I haven't really seen anything like this. This looks pretty unique, and it's being done by a guy who obviously takes a lot of passion. And
he's meticulous.
And so I'm sure it's going to be something cool. I don't think it's going to end up just being limited to PS4, but I mean, we'll see. I'm not expecting to see this on the Wii U. Solely for the purpose that their controller doesn't. I don't think it's gonna work right for that game. But I think we'll end up seeing it on Xbox.
Oh, absolutely. I don't see Jonathan Blow foregoing any of their platforms, but at the same point, I think that Sony did strike a chord with their welcoming attitude towards indies, and the fact that they're now starting at the time releases. So we already know that Hotline Miami 2, is supposed to launch first on PS4, but it will be coming over to other platforms. So we're almost seeing the game reverse now, where Sony doesn't even need to throw money at publishers to get those time exclusives. It's just about throwing out respect, and that's what I see. So yeah, again, I may sound like a fanboy. I'm not. I play games, not consoles, but looking at it from a business and cultural standpoint, you got to look at the fact that respect can go a long way. And yeah, Sony may be a large transnational corporation, but Sony Computer Entertainment itself is run by game developers who have been through all of these hurdles that we saw in Indie Game the Movie and know what it's like to be that little upstart developer who's trying to get out a very unique idea in a market cluttered full of military shooters and third-person Batman Asylum ripoffs. You know, it's just it's tough. You can just imagine Jonathan Blow going to a Microsoft exec pitch meeting with this idea. They would have turned him down flat because when he says to them, Witness is not going to have your traditional story structure or anything. It's really just about the experience. Goodbye. But Sony, we already know. Like look at the PSN store. I mean, there's a lot of quirky titles, and this totally fits in with the realm of what they're trying to do. Especially some games we're going to be getting out later in the episode, like Doki Doki Universe. So I mean, that's The Witness. No date on that. It was supposed to be a launch title. They've actually pushed it back to an undetermined date, but it's definitely something that for fans of Portal, especially the original Portal that didn't really have an overarching story, are gonna love this game. Okay, first person puzzle platformer. How can you go wrong? So, moving on, we got one more game before the break. We're gonna talk about Rime. So, staying with the kind of sublime, esoteric, not necessarily story-driven stuff. So you saw this trailer with me. This one's coming out from Tequila Works, somewhere maybe next year. For the PS4 only thus far. What did you think about the trailer?
First off, here we go again. PlayStation 4 exclusive so far. I mean, this seems to be a reoccurring theme now. But when I first saw this, I was instantly reminded of Journey. It has that vibe. It's like Journey meets Ico. You know,
absolutely, you nailed it.
It got a little bit of the Witness kind of vibe to it, but I mean, it's from a different perspective. I mean, it's a third person kind of a deal going on. But I mean, it looks really cool, really atmospheric, and I think it's could be a bit of a sleeper for these guys. Yeah,
it just seems like one of those very unique puzzle platformers that really wants you to explore that environment. And you can tell that from the trailer. All these sweeping vistas and like this beautiful use of color. It's a game like you said, like Ico or Journey, or even like the recent A Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, where it's less about dialogue, less about action, and more of just about feeling emotion and reading body language and really just kind of emotionally attaching to yourself to the game. It's kind of like when you try to explain a Journey, like the game Journey, to somebody who's never played it, never read the hype, why it's so good, you hit a wall because it's a unique experience. It's whatever you bring to the game. Whatever Journey is to you is what's going to define your experience. And I think that's what's happening with Rime. It's going to be, again, one of those ones that really defines the core of why games are interactive entertainment.
Yeah, it's we can have a few more examples of that. It's like you said, it's less a game and more of like a piece of art or interactive entertainment. It's going to be one of those really good examples of this. And like I said, PS4 only so far.
So that's coming from Rime. That is Rime, and that's coming from Tequila Works. Somewhere next year, possibly 2015. We'll keep you updated. So that's Rime from Tequila Works, exclusive for PS4. That's coming out sometime soon. We don't have a date on it yet. We're gonna go to a quick break, but we're gonna come back with some more cool indie stuff, especially some retro-inspired shooter madness on Joystick Justice League. Stay tuned.